Hello everybody, my name is Xuul and welcome to the Skyrim Mod Showcase. In today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at Darklight ENB. As always, the brightness and the contrast has been adjusted to make this video look a little bit better for YouTube, but it's always going to be a little different. So if it looks a bit too dark, don't worry. Also, if you'd like to see the introduction and the settings video for this series, you can go ahead and click on the screen now. Alright, so today we're looking at Darklight ENB. This is an ENB that is meant to be used with climates of Tamriel, but it says that it also works without. Some of these clips have climates of Tamriel, while some of them don't. This one does not, and the reason it does not is because I wanted to get a foggy weather scene, and this is the only good comparison shot that I had. This is a little bit lighter. With climates of Tamriel, it does tone it down a bit and makes it look a bit better. Overall, this ENB looks very, very beautiful, especially during the daytime. This is supposed to be a hardcore ENB for hardcore players. At least that's kind of how it's framed. It's supposed to have very bright days and very dark nights. Overall, I think this ENB is phenomenal looking, and you can pretty much just tell from the footage here. In our standard kind of cold overcast test here, you can see once again there's a little bit of that blue shift. It looks a little bit better in game once again than it does in the comparison shots, and it looks phenomenal with climates of Tamriel to sort of tone down that little bluish haze. I wish I could get it to kind of match what I'm seeing in the game, but overall the contrast adjustments on YouTube just seem to be getting it out of the way. This lake shot here looks very, very nice as well, especially when you look off into the far distance. I really love the way the mountains look with this ENB installed. Very mystical, but very realistic. Overall, this ENB has a realistic style to it. If we take a look at our interior shot here with the very bright light over us, you'll see that it actually tones down that very overly bleached out area in vanilla, and the sparks, of course, which are in this scene, look really nice. There's not really anything super special about them, but they do look very, very good. I'm actually a pretty big fan of this ENB. Overall, I didn't find any performance loss either, which is good. If you've noticed, if you watched the introduction video, you'll know the hardware I'm running on, but for the most part, I wasn't getting any FPS dips, only in like really intense leafy areas, but for the most part, I was at a solid 60 the entire time. One good thing about this ENB as well is that it looks really good in a snowstorm. So a couple of the ENBs that I've covered haven't handled fog and snow very well. I'm happy to say that this ENB makes the area look very cold, very dark, and it makes it look very good. Magical lights as well in this ENB are given a much more powerful light. This is something that I'm actually a huge fan of, in that these lights really look mystical. This is the evening shot as well, and you'll see that it really does darken up the scene. There we go. So magical lights are much better. This is another thing that some ENVs don't handle very well, and I really appreciate the effort that's gone into make this one look good. Our overcast mountain shot here, once again with the little bit of kind of rain going on in the background, looks fine. In fact, it looks incredible. I'm a big fan of this. Once again, there's not really a lot for me to talk about during the video. It's more of something that's going to be visual, so if my talking here doesn't really add too much, that's pretty much why. In our night moon shot, I'm actually a really big fan of it. So it reddens up the moon, and it really makes the scene look more bold with more contrast while still giving you those very, very dark nights. You will need a torch if you're using Darklight ENB because it is spooky and dark out. Everything sort of pops. That is a light source outside. You'll see this once again with the torch, or the fire comparison, sorry. Fires pop. They don't look bold, flat, and bland like the vanilla shot over there. The fires look rich, warm, and intense, and this is pretty much every light source you see at night. They all have this extremely bold and really good look to them. Here we are at the Atronach Stone. I use this shot as a comparison because it looks kind of mystical, and fantasy type ENBs really show up well from the mist rising up here. This scene also looks good. There's again a couple of ENBs that don't handle mist too well. I'm very happy to say that this one does, and it looks great. Finally, our swamp comparison test here looks really good, especially since we're using pure waters in this ENB comparison. It makes this area look really good. It doesn't make it look too cold. It does make it feel kind of like a hot springs. The mists, the fogs, all that kind of stuff blends together really well. And then here's our typical shadow shot, which is the final of the standard comparison shots, and you can take a look at the shadows here for yourself. They look amazing. I love the way the ENB mod handles shadows, and this preset does an amazing job. The dungeons are dark, while the light in the dungeons is bold, and it really makes it pop. Overall, big fan of Darklight ENB. Alright, so now that we've taken a look at the standard comparison for this ENB, let's wrap it up with the score. The FPS loss was minimal. I stayed at 60 actually the entire time in these clips, dropped a little bit in some very dense areas. The dungeons definitely require torches, and the nights, you may want to sleep in an inn because it is a dark ENB. Big fan of that, by the way. I would categorize this as more of a realistic style of ENB. It's not a fantasy ENB or anything like that. So if that's what you're interested in, I would give this mod a try. I'd give this about a 4 out of 5. It's really good. There's a couple of scenes, especially that overcast fog, that look a little bit off. I think the blue tinge to it looks a little bit different, but this is definitely worth checking out. This is a great ENB preset. Download it and try it out for yourself. Alright, that's all the time I have for today's episode. If you liked it, please consider subscribing to stay tuned for the rest of this ENB comparison series. There will be more videos out. Don't forget to check out the introduction video if you are interested in seeing the specs that I have. If you like the mod, download it and give it an endorsement. I'm sure the author would very, very much appreciate it. If you'd like to see some of the other stuff I have, I cover suggested software, I cover modding videos for other games, not just ENBs, KOTOR, Dragon Age, that kind of thing. So yeah. And of course, there's going to be more of these ENB videos coming out hopefully the same time next week, so stay tuned. Anyways, that's all the time I have. I'm so bad at outros. I'm terrible at them. Hashtag bad outro. YOLO swag. 420 YOLO. I've been Xuul, and I hope you have an excellent day.